Ladies and gentlemen, something in the atmosphere is shifting. The heavens are watching. The earth is groaning. The winds of destiny are blowing, and time is no longer crawling. It's sprinting towards something unstoppable. Time has run out for excuses. That statement is not just a motivational phrase. It's a spiritual alarm clock. It means the grace period for delay is closing, and the time for decisive action is now. Excuses are often polished versions of fear, doubt, or comfort. We dress them up with logic and reason, but in reality, they are the chains that hold us back from purpose. We say we're waiting for the right time, the right finances, the right connections, or the right feeling, but the truth is, we're often just afraid of what obedience will cost us. We delay our calling because we fear rejection. We hesitate on our dreams because we don't want to fail. We postpone growth because staying the same feels easier. But every excuse has an expiration date, and the clock just hit 0. For too long, many have been circling the same mountain, wrestling with the same thoughts, trapped in the same cycles. Promises remain unfulfilled not because God hasn't spoken, but because we haven't moved. The window of grace is still open, but it's not infinite. God is patient, but His timing is intentional. There are moments when He says, now, and that no comes with a weight of urgency. When the Spirit stirs you, when conviction grips your heart, when the message burns inside your soul, you cannot afford to ignore it. That burning you feel, that's not anxiety, it's divine pressure. It's heaven tapping on the door of your comfort zone and saying, get up, go now, do what I told you. Excuses sound reasonable in isolation. They feel safe. They give us temporary peace, but they cost us long-term purpose. They may protect your ego for a moment, but they rob your spirit of momentum. They're subtle too. We tell ourselves we're not ready, that someone else could do it better, that we'll try again next year, after the kids are grown, after we have more clarity, after we feel more spiritual. But destiny doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It waits for surrendered hearts. And surrendered hearts don't wait for everything to make sense. They obey even when it doesn't. Because faith doesn't work when you can see the whole path. It works when you take the first step. God has already equipped you with what you need to begin. The calling is already on your life. The door has already cracked open. The only thing left to do is walk through it. But every moment you hesitate is a moment you lose. While you're explaining your delay, someone else is stepping into their assignment. While you're waiting for a guarantee, someone else is moving with faith. The difference isn't who's more talented, it's who's more obedient. Heaven doesn't require perfection. It requires movement. It requires trust. It requires a yes. This is not the time to rehearse your reasons for not starting. It's time to repent for stalling and start running. God can work with weakness, but He can't work with unwillingness. The soil is ready. The season has shifted. The Spirit is speaking, and the command is clear: no more excuses. Time has run out, not to scare you, but to awaken you, because some opportunities don't come back around. Some doors don't stay open forever. Some windows of favor are seasonal. When God says move, He means now. Not after confirmation number 7. Not when you feel less scared. Not after someone else approves. The time for delay is done. God moves powerfully in unusual nights. When the world sleeps, heaven often works. Some of the greatest shifts in history happen not in broad daylight, not during high moments of celebration, but in the stillness and strangeness of night. There's something sacred about night, a time when distractions fade and the noise of the world goes quiet. It's often in those midnight hours, those moments of darkness and uncertainty, that God speaks, acts, and transforms. Unusual nights carry unusual visitations. They are the stage for divine intervention, where the natural laws seem to bend under the weight of supernatural authority. Think of the night when the Israelites, after 400 years of bondage, were finally set free. That night wasn't filled with applause or fireworks. It was filled with tension, urgency, and blood on doorposts. It was Passover night, a night of divine judgment and deliverance. While Egypt mourned, Israel moved. That night wasn't normal. God didn't wait for the sun to rise to deliver His people. He moved in the dark. He didn't wait for perfect conditions. He used a moment wrapped in fear and uncertainty to break the chains of oppression. because God often does his greatest work in moments that feel the most chaotic. Another night, a trembling man named Gideon was hiding in fear, threshing wheat in a winepress to avoid his enemies. The situation around him screamed defeat, but in that unusual night, an angel of the Lord appeared to him and called him a mighty warrior. Gideon didn't feel mighty. His surroundings didn't look victorious. But God doesn't speak to you based on your present. He speaks according to your potential. That night marked the beginning of a revolution, from fear to faith, from hiding to leading, all because God visited him in the dark. That encounter wasn't a coincidence. It was a divine appointment disguised as a regular night. Then there's the ultimate example, the night Jesus was arrested. It was a night of betrayal, of agony in the Garden of Gethsemane, of silence from the disciples. From the outside, it looked like a night of loss. But heaven knew the plan. That night set in motion the most powerful redemption story ever told. And 3 nights later, when the stone was rolled away, light broke through the grave. But before the morning came, there had to be a night, a strange night, a painful night, a holy night. God was moving even when no one saw it. We often resist the night because we associate it with fear, confusion, and waiting. But God doesn't need daylight to deliver. He doesn't require clarity to work miracles. He moves when hearts are open, even in darkness. In fact, it's often in the unusual nights, the ones filled with questions, isolation, and spiritual tension, that God reveals himself most clearly. When you can't sleep, when you feel something stirring in your spirit, when everything seems to be shifting without explanation, that might be your unusual night. And in that night, God is not distant. He is closer than ever. God doesn't move on our schedule. He moves on his, and his timing is perfect. So when you find yourself in a night season, a moment of waiting, uncertainty, or deep transformation, know that you are not forgotten. You are being positioned. Heaven doesn't waste a night. Every unusual night is pregnant with purpose. Something is being formed, revealed, or released. God has a history of using the night to make history. Your unusual night may just be the beginning of an extraordinary move of God. The countdown is a wake-up call. It's not just a dramatic metaphor or an emotional phrase. It's a spiritual truth. A countdown signals urgency. It means something is coming, something is shifting, and the time to prepare is running out. In every life, God gives warning signs, internal stirrings, and divine nudges to awaken us from spiritual slumber. But just like an alarm clock, a countdown only helps if we choose to respond. You can either wake up and act, or hit snooze and sleep through your moment. And sadly, many do just that. They sleep through their season, not because God didn't speak, but because they didn't believe the urgency of his voice. There's a spiritual danger in becoming too familiar with delay. The more you postpone obedience, the easier it becomes to live passively. Delay begins to feel normal, even safe. But the Spirit of God doesn't move according to comfort. He moves according to purpose. When he begins a countdown, he is not trying to create fear. He's trying to get your attention. He's saying, get ready. I'm about to move. I'm about to shift something. Prepare your heart, your mind, your hands, because what's coming next demands focus. The countdown is not God's way of threatening you. It's his mercy. It's a final warning to shake off the distractions, to return to your first love, to stop wandering in indecision. Scripture is filled with moments where God gave a window of time, a countdown, before unleashing his next move. Noah was told to build the ark. It took years, but the countdown had begun. People mocked, laughed, and ignored the signs. But then the rain started. When the door shut, it was too late to knock. The time to prepare had passed. God had spoken, and only those who responded to the countdown were saved. The same principle applies to us. God is speaking now, not just through preachers and prophecy, but through world events, personal trials, inner unrest, and divine timing. And he's not speaking for entertainment. He's speaking for alignment. The countdown is also personal. It's not always global or dramatic. Sometimes the wake-up call comes quietly. A relationship fails, and suddenly you realize your priorities were out of order. A door closes unexpectedly, and you see that God was trying to redirect you. You hit a wall spiritually, emotionally, or physically, not because God abandoned you, but because he's trying to break your routine and awaken your soul. The clock is ticking not in fear, but in grace. Because the window for repentance, for realignment, for restoration doesn't stay open forever. God's Spirit will not strive with man forever. There is a season where the tug on your heart is strong, and if you ignore it too long, your sensitivity to it begins to fade. Every time God begins a countdown in your life, He is calling you to a decision. Will you keep living like you have unlimited time, or will you respond like someone who knows the weight of now? Time is a gift, but it is also a test. How you respond to it determines what you walk into. The greatest tragedies in life are not missed opportunities. They are ignored wake-up calls. It's not that the chance wasn't there. It's that the person didn't respond in time. The countdown is your reminder that something bigger than you is unfolding. You are being invited into God's timing, into a higher level of accountability, into a divine pivot. You don't have forever to answer. You have now. Old cycles must end tonight. There comes a point in every life where continuing in the same pattern is no longer acceptable. Not because you don't know how to survive it, but because you finally realize survival is not the goal, freedom is. Cycles are repetitive behaviors, thoughts, and choices that keep you circling the same wilderness, praying for change while living in routine. You say you want something new, but your life is stuck on repeat. The same fears, the same failures, the same excuses, the same regrets, and deep down, you know something has to break. Not tomorrow, not next year, tonight. Ending a cycle starts with confronting the lie that says, this is just how things are. That voice that tells you you'll always struggle, always fall, always go back. That voice is not truth, it's bondage. That mindset is a prison disguised as reality. But tonight the chains of that lie are being exposed. God never called you to live in endless loops. He called you to move forward, to grow, to rise, to step into something greater. The enemy loves cycles because they keep you busy but unfruitful. You feel exhausted but not accomplished. You feel tired but not transformed. And that's how he wins, by convincing you that movement equals progress when really you're just spinning in place. There are generational cycles, habits and curses passed down that have followed your family for decades. There are emotional cycles where your confidence rises one week and crashes the next. There are spiritual cycles where your faith gets hot for a moment, then cold again. These are not just coincidences. They are patterns that the enemy exploits to keep you from consistency and therefore from victory. But the truth is, what you don't confront, you will repeat. And what you don't break, you will pass on. Tonight is about breaking it. Tonight is about deciding that enough is enough. No more circling. No more temporary freedom followed by familiar failure. Cycles end when you stop negotiating with them. As long as you leave the door cracked, they'll come back. As long as you manage them instead of destroy them, they'll linger. There must be a finality in your spirit that says, this thing ends here, it ends with me, not because of willpower, but because of surrender. The strength to break a cycle isn't found in trying harder. It's found in laying it down before God and saying, I can't do this in my strength, but I trust yours. That kind of surrender is what opens the heavens. That kind of honesty is what invites real change. The reason cycles feel so hard to break is because they often become your identity. You start to believe you are the struggle. You start to define yourself by your lowest moments. But you are not your addiction. You are not your past. You are not your failure. You are who God says you are, and He says you are free. You are whole. You are called. You are new. But if you don't believe that, you'll keep living like the old you. And that's why tonight is critical, because this is not just about behavior change. It's about identity transformation. Until your mind shifts, your life won't. Tonight is not just another night. It is a divine confrontation. God is shining light on the patterns, the cycles, the habits, and the hidden places that need to be exposed and expelled. Not because He's angry, but because He's ready to lead you out. Just like He led the Israelites out of Egypt in the middle of the night, He's offering you the same deliverance. But you can't take Egypt with you. You can't walk into a promised land with a slave mentality. The old must go. The cycle must end. Not gradually, not eventually. It must end tonight. You're being called into purpose. Not into routine, not into mere survival, not into another cycle of meaningless motion, but into purpose. That deep stirring inside of you, that restless dissatisfaction with the ordinary is not a sign of something being wrong. It's a sign that God is awakening something right. You were not born to simply exist, pay bills, go through the motions and die. You were born with divine intention, wrapped in eternal significance. The fingerprints of God are on your life, and His voice is echoing in your spirit saying, there is more. Purpose is not just about position or platform, it's about alignment. It's about waking up each day with clarity that your life carries meaning beyond what you can see. Too many people live accidental lives, letting circumstances determine their direction. But purpose is not accidental, it's deliberate, it's intentional. And God doesn't give purpose to a few chosen individuals. He gives it to everyone willing to surrender. Your purpose may not look like someone else's. It may not be loud, famous, or flashy, but it is powerful. Purpose doesn't need applause, it needs obedience. And God is not calling you to compare, but to respond. You've been circling through seasons, wondering why certain things don't fulfill you anymore. That job that used to excite you now feels empty. That relationship that once made you feel secure now feels draining. That lifestyle you once chased now feels hollow. It's not because you've lost value. It's because your soul is outgrowing small assignments. When God begins to call you into purpose, the things that once satisfied you no longer fit. Like David trying on Saul's armor, what used to protect someone else can feel like a burden to you. Because your calling is tailored. It's custom. It fits no one else but you. Many people run from their purpose because it costs something. It costs comfort. It costs convenience. It may cost approval. Purpose will often take you through uncomfortable seasons so God can shape you for what's ahead. Look at Moses, called from a burning bush into the task of confronting Pharaoh. Look at Esther, positioned as queen not for luxury, but for the saving of her people. Look at Jeremiah, chosen as a prophet before he was born, yet still tried to disqualify himself. The calling of purpose doesn't wait until you feel ready. It shows up and demands a response. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to say yes. The weight you've been feeling is not random. The opposition you faced is not accidental. The spiritual battles, the sudden transitions, the things falling apart around you, it's all connected. Purpose often begins when comfort ends. When God starts to call you, He will start to unsettle everything that was keeping you stuck. That's not punishment, that's preparation. You can't step into something new while clinging to what's old. There's a reason things are shifting. There's a reason you feel pulled in a different direction. That's purpose tugging on your spirit, asking you to trust what God is building, even when you can't yet see it. God is calling you not just to do something, but to become someone who reflects His heart, someone who lives on mission, someone who makes a difference. You are not overlooked. You are not too late. You are not underqualified. Everything you've been through has been part of the shaping. The delays, the detours, the disappointments, they were all building something inside you. You are not behind schedule. You are right on time for purpose. The calling is not coming tomorrow or next year. It's already here. You're being called into purpose right now. This is your moment of destiny. Not next week, not some distant season you're still waiting for. Right now. This very moment, with all its imperfection, unpredictability, and even pressure, has been divinely appointed for something significant to begin. Destiny doesn't always shout with thunder and lightning. Sometimes it whispers in the quiet and demands a decision. The moment you're in may look ordinary, but heaven is leaning in. The weight you feel isn't coincidence. It's the gravity of purpose pulling you into alignment with something greater than you've ever known. You've come too far to treat this as just another night, just another choice, or just another day. This is not business as usual. This is destiny's hour. You don't have to feel completely ready to step into it. Destiny doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for surrender. There's something about this moment that is different. Your spirit can feel it. It's not hype. It's not emotion. It's not imagination. It's divine timing. Everything that's been leading up to now, the heartbreaks, the delays, the spiritual battles, the seasons of silence, The nights you almost quit wasn't meaningless. It was all preparation for a divine unlocking. The enemy tried to use those moments to bury you, but God used them to build you. And now, that internal tension you feel, that inner stirring that won't let you settle, is heaven signaling that the time is now. Destiny doesn't come without resistance. You'll always face the temptation to delay, to doubt, or to shrink back into comfort. But if you could see what's on the other side of your obedience, you wouldn't hesitate. This moment is not just about what's happening around you. It's about what God is doing inside you. He's awakening dormant dreams. He's reviving buried callings. He's stirring boldness where fear used to live. There's something in you that was born for this moment, even if your mind doesn't feel ready. Your DNA carries divine design. Your soul carries eternal weight. And this is not the time to play small. This is the time to rise. There are moments in life where everything shifts. You may not recognize the full impact until later, but something begins to move in the spiritual realm when you say yes to destiny. It's not just a moment of inspiration, it's a moment of transformation. It's the kind of moment that causes old mindsets to die and new vision to be born. It's the kind of moment where courage overtakes excuses. This is your Red Sea crossing. This is your Goliath confrontation. This is your Jordan River moment where you decide to leave behind wandering and step into the land God promised you. Many wait for confirmation before stepping out, but destiny often demands that you walk first. Faith isn't just believing God can, it's acting like He will. And right now, He's waiting for your movement, your step of faith, your decision to stop playing it safe. This is the moment where the ordinary ends and the extraordinary begins. The enemy wouldn't be fighting you this hard if nothing was at stake. The warfare around you is a clue to the weight of the assignment ahead of you. You weren't created for a quiet exit. You were created for divine impact. And moments like this come with heavenly urgency. You've prayed for breakthrough, asked for clarity, begged for purpose. And now you're standing in the very moment that could shift everything. But moments are fragile. They pass quickly. And if you let fear or hesitation rule, you might miss what God has already placed in your hand. The clock has hit zero, not as a signal of defeat, but as the beginning of divine acceleration. The heavens are open. The Spirit is speaking. The door is unlocked. All that's left is for you to walk through.